Board of Education. And on behalf of the Board of Education, I want to say that we are unified in our support of the proposed new high school. The proposed new high school addresses all the needs of the current high school facility while supporting educational programming now and into the future. The time is now to address the current facility in a comprehensive manner. We are thrilled to share the details of the new high school facility with our community and join together to support this project. Thank you again.
Thank you, Andrea. At this point, I just want to remind anybody, we encourage you to use the Q&A feature to submit a question during this presentation. You should have that option at the bottom of your screen. There will be a dedicated Q&A section at the end of the presentation. And also remind everybody, as I often do during our building committee meetings as well, as you can also submit comments and questions to the building committee at any time using the comment form on our website. That's www.fhsbuildingproject.org. And public comment also is always welcome at our building committee meetings that are held every other Wednesday. And the next building committee meeting is scheduled for this upcoming Wednesday, April 7th at 6:30 p.m. So just a reminder for continued communication. To begin our formal presentation, though, we are happy to have a few educators that also live in town with us today. I'd like to introduce Kate Martirelli, a counselor at Farmington High School, who will give us a statement on the FHS building project.
Thank you, Meg. I'm so happy to be here today. My name is Kate Martirelli, and I'm here today with my colleague, Chris Maycall. Chris and I both work at Farmington High School and reside in town. He is a wellness teacher and coach, and I'm a school counselor and the counseling department leader here at Farmington High School. I'm also one of your neighbors. I have a young child. I also have young children who will be entering Farmington Public Schools in the coming years. My daughter, Maddie, is 4.5 and currently attends the Farmington Collaborative Preschool Program at Noah Wallace. I also have a 2.5-year-old, Ellie, who cannot wait to attend school like her big sister. I am proud to live and work in Farmington. The high school building project is extremely important to me, both personally and professionally, and to my fellow educators. I know firsthand how a school facility can advance or disrupt learning. The current FHS facility disrupts learning and creates barriers to implementing 21st century teaching and learning curriculum, given the current design, the age of the building, and multiple additions. Farmington students have traditionally led beyond their K-12 education as successful and contributing citizens. However, expectations have changed when it comes to the knowledge, skills, and dispositions required to compete on a global level for college admissions and in the work environment. A new high school will advance 21st century learning and teaching aligned to Farmington's vision of the global citizen, given the design of the proposed high school. The vision is directly aligned to what many companies cite as the knowledge, skills, and dispositions they are seeking in employees now and in the future. Please join me in supporting this important project that will benefit Farmington students as well as our community as a destination for not only an exemplary education for Farmington's children now and in the future, but also a gathering place in our community for events and enrichment. A new high school will enhance the experience of all residents living in this wonderful town.
Great, thank you very much, Kate. We appreciate those comments. So for the next step in the presentation, I'd now like to play a brief video that provides a side-by-side comparison of the current high school and the new high school.
Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining me. My name is Megan Guerrera, and I'm the chairperson of the Farmington High School Building Committee. In our time together, we will review both the current and new Farmington High School. Please take note of the significant space, safety, and learning limitations of the current Farmington High School as compared to the many opportunities for engaged, inclusive, and safe learning provided by the new Farmington High School. Much of the high school was built when the enrollment was 800 students. Farmington High School now enrolls approximately 1,300 students. 10 additions have been added over the years to try to address the growing student population, but there are many spaces that cannot accommodate today's teaching methods. The proposed building provides flexible spaces that can accommodate a variety of teaching methods and a variety of instruction, including individual, small group, and large group instruction. The building also creates communities of learners by clustering classrooms around breakout areas, faculty offices, and support spaces. The new facility is planned for future student population growth over the next decade. There are 23 separate entry points, sightline issues, challenges in separating the high school boundary to public access points, inadequate lighting inside and outside of the building creates a challenging building orientation. The current parking lot configuration does not provide nearly enough parking. Clear walking pathways present safety concerns and do not meet current standards for school safety. The entrance will be obvious to visitors arriving at the new FHS. The single main entrance is centrally located at the convergence of car, bus, and pedestrian approaches. A wide pedestrian-safe walkway leads directly to the front door. The school office is located immediately adjacent to the front door with a clear view of visitors approaching the buildings. During a 4-minute passing period, sometimes close to 1,000 students move through our hallway intersections. This creates crowded movement and not much time for students to get to their classes. The new FHS provides generous circulation paths filled with natural light from above. Major assembly spaces such as the library, cafeteria, and auditorium could be located along a central corridor, which is large enough to serve as breakout areas or as a lobby for those assembly spaces. The overcrowding we face at Farmington High School is experienced daily in our basic classrooms. They are occupied every period of the day, making it difficult to hold planning meetings, meet with small groups of students, or host special programs. The classrooms have ongoing problems, including a range of temperature fluctuations as a result of no air conditioning, ongoing leaks, and aging equipment. The remote second floor of the original 1928 building currently houses the art and world language departments. These classrooms are small, cramped, hot in the warm weather months, and cold in the winter. There is very little storage. In process, a completed student artwork clutters the classrooms and hallways. These spaces are only handicap accessible via the outdated and many times non-operating elevator. There are a number of students taking business classes who would tend to pursue business programs in their post-secondary education. Unfortunately, there is only one business classroom. Due to this limitation, we cannot keep up with the increasing enrollment and interest in advanced technology and business studies. Technology is at the center of 21st century teaching and learning, yet our entire data center is in a former classroom. The space is too small for the equipment and for staff to support all of our technology needs. Loud and distracting dehumidifiers are present in most of our math classrooms because of a moisture problem in this part of the building. This creates a challenging learning environment for teachers and students. The new FHS provides natural light in classrooms and other learning spaces. This photograph shows how light shelves along the windows can direct daylight upward and across the ceiling, making the classrooms very bright. The school includes movable furniture and technology for multiple learning formats, offering individual and small group configurations and greater flexibility in the scheduling of classrooms for different departments. Teacher workstations could be located elsewhere in shared collaborative spaces. The lack of space we face at the high school is evident in the amphitheater. It was originally designed for special events and meetings, but must now be used every period of the day for classes and study halls. The new FHS provides large instructional spaces that are fully accessible and that offer excellent visibility of instructional walls, adjustable lighting, proper acoustical treatment, and new audiovisual equipment. Newer technology can be incorporated within the spaces to support distance learning and collaborative instruction from multiple remote locations. Our current music room is an example of the challenges that growing enrollment can place on a program. This space is too small for the number of students who attend music classes. Students often have to practice in hallways and stairwells. There is also insufficient storage for instruments and other equipment. Most importantly, it is not ADA compliant or accessible for our disabled students. The new FHS provides rooms that can support large and small group assemblies for music practice. with the appropriate acoustic separation from adjacent spaces and with acoustical treatment within the rooms. The music room in the photograph is designed with a flat floor in order to maximize flexibility, and the movable tiered seating can be reconfigured as needs change. The room has windows for natural lighting and sound absorptive and reflective wall panels to optimize acoustics. Due to a lack of teaching space, the science labs must also function as classrooms and workspaces. There is insufficient storage for scientific chemicals and equipment, which can create a safety issue for our students and teachers. We are very careful when working with them, but are still limited due to the dated space. The new FHS provides bench-centered learning stations with good sight lines to the demonstration table. The photograph shows a high school science lab with operable windows to enhance the work environment. Ample daylighting reduces the need for artificial lighting, thereby saving energy. Durable finishes such as seamless flooring simplifies maintenance. In applied arts classes, students work with power tools and all kinds of objects. The classroom is too small to expand on project opportunities, as these types of projects require sufficient space to ensure student safety. The new FHS provides clean, safe, and organized workspaces with adequate storage facilities for materials and tools. Shop infrastructure should include acoustic separation of spaces, sensible distribution of utilities, and ample ventilation with dust filtration. For safety reasons, power equipment should be spaced appropriately and have proper safety features with emergency disconnects. There is no access to the second-level library for disabled students. The current library is not compliant with ADA standards. There is just not enough space for growth and student use. The new FHS provides a very visible, centrally located library with space for a variety of activities, such as individual study, small group discussion, and project work. Movable furniture can offer opportunities for rearranging spaces to accommodate evening meetings and presentations. The auditorium at Farmington High School, like many of our larger spaces, is inadequate to serve the needs of our community. A high school auditorium should accommodate at least half of the student population. Ours currently holds less than 1/3. Additionally, the space is not ADA compliant. This arrangement is problematic for large crowds, as entering and exiting the rows is difficult and distracting. Finally, poor acoustics and insufficient lighting for student productions hinders the capabilities for educational and community programming. A properly functioning high school auditorium provides a fully accessible space that serves the needs of the entire community as well as the students. It should act as a general place of assembly for everyone, as well as a learning environment for students, particularly those active in dramatic and musical events as performers, or as technicians in activities such as set building, staging, and media controlling. For that reason, features such as catwalks for stage lighting are designed with student safety in mind. Our cafeteria cannot accommodate the size of our current student body. 4 lunch waves must be organized, the first beginning before 10 a.m., which is when food can legally begin being served. Those students are not only scheduled for lunch at 9:50 a.m., but they must also get their food and eat in under 30 minutes. This is difficult with the number of students assigned to each lunch wave. Additionally, a minimum of 5 faculty members must be assigned to monitor each lunch wave, which is challenging given faculty teaching schedules. The cafeteria is also used for study halls in the beginning and end of the day due to insufficient classroom space. At times, nearly 200 students are assigned to a cafeteria study hall. This is hardly an environment conducive to student academic achievement, and again, several teachers must be assigned to monitor these large crowds. The new FHS provides a cafeteria that can serve not only as a space for dining, but also as a space for other activities during the day and on evenings and weekends. The space in the photograph is a high school cafeteria, and it also functions as a ticketing lobby for the auditorium and the gym, as a concession area, and as an assembly space for various meetings and presentations. The old gym is too small to hold any athletic events. Therefore, it can only be used for storage, small practices, and some gym classes. The main gym is not ADA compliant or handicap accessible when the bleachers are pulled out. There is no air conditioning, so it is often very hot during late spring and autumn events. It is also located directly across from the auditorium, so these two popular areas must compete in terms of space, sound, crowd control, and parking. The new FHS provides a gym for phys ed and athletic team events and is large enough for major assemblies of the student body. The high school gym in the photograph features a roof with a sawtooth configuration that allows daylight to enter into the gym, creating a pleasant, uplifting space. This gym is divisible by an overhead gym curtain and contains retractable seating on both sides. The high high school currently lacks adequate breakout spaces for collaborative class activities. As a result, students must sit on the hallway floors when doing group work. This is not an ideal learning environment. The new FHS provides ample opportunity for breakout spaces adjacent to teacher work areas and near classroom clusters. Breakout spaces that are comfortable and attractive can offer greater opportunity for spontaneous discussion, group activities, and interdisciplinary teamwork. Highly visible areas such as the one shown in this photograph can be flexible gathering spaces between classrooms, and they can be the focal point of a smaller learning community. The location of the administrative offices in the existing facility is problematic. School administration does not have a direct view of the visitors approaching the building. In fact, the front office is located deep within the footprint of the existing building, quite far from the front door. Faculty offices are inadequate, and they are placed in various remote locations in the existing building. This does not encourage cross-disciplinary collaboration among teachers, and it makes interdepartmental planning very difficult. The new FHS administrative offices will be located in the main entrance of the building. This provides maximum views of people entering the building for security purposes. Faculty offices will be placed in each of the learning communities to encourage interdisciplinary collaboration. The existing building has been renovated and enlarged so many times that its infrastructure is poorly arranged, with multiple heating and cooling systems of various vintages, a bewildering distribution of wiring for electricity, and a confusing maze of piping for plumbing and drainage. This makes maintenance difficult and costly. Many components are outdated and replacement parts are no longer made. Most of the existing building is only 1 story in height, resulting in many roofs of different ages, with many joints between those roofs. The result is an existing facility that has reoccurring failures in its infrastructure. The new FHS is planned to minimize its roof area and its exterior wall area. The design uses energy-efficient walls and windows to reduce heat loss in the winter and heat gain in the summer. Walls will have more insulation and less infiltration, and new maintenance-free windows will improve security and energy efficiency. The new mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems will be arranged to maximize efficiency and simplify maintenance.
Great, thank you, Devin. So at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to open up for the question and answer session. So Devin will facilitate this part of the presentation. As a reminder, questions can be submitted to the building committee at any time using the comment form on the website, as I mentioned before. But any comments today can go in the Q&A section, and Devin will read those questions received and direct to the appropriate person to answer.
All right, looks like we have one question right now, and that is, what schedule time-wise would the new cafeteria allow for? Would students then be able to eat at a reasonable time of day and have additional time to do so? This is an issue in all of our schools. Thank you. Scott, do you think you could take this one?
Sure, I'd be happy to take that. Thanks, Devin, and thank you for that question. Yes, as the former principal of Irving A. Robbins Middle School, I can empathize in multiple schools in the district regarding the size of cafeterias and the limitations that it puts on a schedule. We just don't have enough space, so we must offer 4 lunch waves, and based on the time of the school day and the complex schedule that occurs at Farmington High School right now, we're forced to have 4 lunch waves. That will be the case until we get a larger space to host eating in the cafeteria. So I cannot say with certainty what those times would be, but the new cafeteria would allow us to decrease the amount of lunch waves needed to be offered in our building based on the size, which would then allow us to reframe that schedule and not have students eating at 9:45 or in this case 10 o'clock in the morning as the first lunch wave. So that is the case when you have a facility that's able to deal with the amount of students that we have. We can have greater flexibility with our schedule. We are working here at Farmington High School to revise our schedule still in our current building. It won't completely solve the issue. There's no way that we can operate in the current space with less than 4 lunch waves at the high school. So right now we'll continue to make those adjustments as best we can, but we are limited in our capacity. Our attempts to create a new schedule have forced us to have 0 open rooms during the course of the day, which again limits the classes we can offer and the flexibility that we have right now. So I hope that was helpful in answering your question.
Thanks, Scott.
You're welcome.
Right, another question we have is how many square feet is the size of the new high school design? Richard, would you be able to take this one?
Yes, I can help with that. But before I do that, I do want to comment also on the cafeteria. So the only way to reduce the number of lunch waves in the cafeteria and offer more time for lunch is to increase the seating capacity. And what we typically do, because we follow state guidelines, and the state has lots of guidelines, and one of them has to do with the number of the maximum number of waves that it will reimburse, which happens to be 3. So in order to accommodate your increased seating capacity, as well as comply with state guidelines, we would have to provide seating for approximately 500 students, which could decrease the lunch waves to 3 instead of 4. That is subject to change, but that's the plan. The plan right now is for no more than 3 lunch waves. As far as the square footage of the building, our plan is to increase the size of the square footage in the high school by about 20%, which would bring the total square footage of the building to approximately 240,000 square feet. I'm doing this from memory. Unfortunately, I don't have my notes in front of me. But that kind of increase in the new building is more than just square footage. When you realize how much circulation is devoted to spaces devoted to things like corridors in the existing footprint, it creates a very, very inefficient layout. The proposed new configuration is very, very efficient. So the ratio of circulation to actual usable space is much better. So hopefully that answers the question about building size.
All right, thanks, Richard. Someone asked, they said that was a great video. It would be great for all community members to see. The video is available on our committee website at fhsbuildingproject.org. If you go to the schematic design on the top navigation bar there is a side-by-side page, and the video is available on that page. Another question, would the new kitchen cafeteria be able to better accommodate food allergies? Richard, do you have an answer for this one?
I'm an architect. I'm not the person who schedules or arranges for the menu. So I'm going to have to defer the answer to that question to, I guess, Scott. Do you do the cooking in the cafeteria, Scott?
To be honest with you, Richard, in my office behind me, I do have a chef's jacket that I was given upon my arrival to Farmington High School. But I can't say that I've done the cooking in the kitchen there, but I have worn the jacket before when we've sampled food pre-COVID there. To answer that question, I would say anytime that we have more spaces, it's certainly helpful. I would have to know more about the specific concerns regarding allergies. We deal with any students and their individual needs currently and have a wide variety. Certainly the updated cafeteria would allow us more spacing and access there. I could also, discuss with our director of food operations any other specific concerns that might arise to that. Alicia, I don't know if you have anything else at this point.
I would just say, along with the design of the cafeteria allows for flow of how we serve food and what food is served in certain locations. So again, when you're starting from a clean slate, you consider all those things in the design of the cafeteria. And then also when you think about traffic and traffic flow, if our goal isn't to rush students through the line, but rather to allow the appropriate amount of time for kids to comfortably get through the line and eat, then we can be more accommodating to individual student needs. So it's a good question.
Thank you. All right, our next question is what measures are being considered to cope with the pandemic similar to the current one? Example, extra ventilation, spacing for outdoor classes. Richard, I think you can speak to this one.
Yes, I'd be happy to. The video that you saw just a few minutes ago showed you some illustrations of the new classrooms, wider corridors. So the things that we've accommodated in the facility to address a pandemic in the future is greater amount of circulation space. We need to provide safe distance between people when they're passing from class to class. We also have specified and budgeted in the project budget very durable, easily cleanable surfaces. I've mentioned it a few times in past presentations, how porcelain tile floors are extremely easy to maintain, how glazed masonry on walls is easy to maintain as well. But most importantly, we're increasing the ventilation system to not only meet current code standards, but also to provide for greater safety when it comes to controlling infection. By increasing the ventilation capacity, by improving the air infiltration, or filtration, I should say, and the ability to automatically flush out the air system on a regular basis will reduce the risk of the spread of illness. We also have divided the ventilation system into separate zones that will allow you to separate different cohorts of students as well as staff in order to prevent any cross-contamination from one area to another. So the building does have features built in to reduce the risk of spread of illness.
Thank you, Richard. We have a question. I've heard people say that many of the problems at the current FHS could be solved by completing renovations of the auditorium and gym and addressing some of the outstanding ADA compliance issues. Can you please describe why a renovation option is not sufficient? Meg, would you be able to take this one?
Yes, I think I can, and then probably be supplemented as well with Richard. So I can, let me give you some background from the building committee perspective, and then I think, as I said, Richard can supplement that. The architects did a ton of work on the evaluation of these options. So as we mentioned in the intro, the building committee did look at 6 conceptual options within 3 categories. One was renovation of the current, was actually maintaining the current facility. One was renovating the facility, and then the brand new building. And we did a pretty rigorous evaluation and had evaluation criteria and a matrix that looked at those 3 options based on the statement of needs and the criteria that was given to the building committee from the Board of Education. And that really was broken down into several categories that we needed to address. First and foremost, we did look at those accreditation issues and being able to address those. And we certainly can address, we could have addressed the majority of them with a renovation option, but not all could have been addressed. So we did have some limitations around some of the requirements around the scientific labs and the science classrooms and things like that, that we still needed to provide some more detail around in the additional options. We did have safety concerns. And if you remember in the building and in the presentation, we talked about 23 separate entrances in this building and a sprawling layout that really is not efficient. And it really doesn't make sense as far as the use of the building and the maintenance of the building. A renovation really isn't going to address a lot of those issues. And that was a significant concern for us as a building committee, and one that we knew was important to the community. And to the students and the teachers that are actually working in the facility. So we had limitations there as well. Renovation as well really doesn't address a lot of the issues you saw in the video around additional space required. We need more classrooms. We need expanding learning spaces. We need common areas. The building structure as it exists today doesn't provide that. So renovation in the true form really isn't the answer for those things. We needed to be able to provide more space and more usable space. Those corridor spaces are there and they are part of the square footage, but they're not usable spaces. So again, it really didn't meet the needs. And when we really looked at the cost overall for what a renovation looked like, the value and what we were receiving for those for that renovated building just didn't make sense when we looked at all the needs that weren't being met by a simple renovation. So there was a lot of, as I said, a lot of work, a lot of conversation. We took this evaluation specifically very seriously as a building committee to see really what made the most sense. How are we meeting the needs for the best value? And that's really what led us to the new building solution. So Richard, I don't know if you want to expand on that a little bit more.
Sure, I'd be happy to. We looked at a range of options. We wanted to address all of the shortcomings that were expressed in the statement of needs that we were presented with in the beginning, which is more than just meeting ADA compliance or upgrading selected areas of the building. We wanted to be able to create a facility that would meet the needs long into the future. And in order to do that, we needed to touch each and every aspect of the building. And that's difficult to do with a renovation project because you're very, very constrained by the given geometry, the given structural configuration of the building. We looked at a minimal renovation. We looked at a significant renovation. We looked at additions and renovations to the existing building to see if we couldn't expand it as well as supplement it with some renovation work. And the conclusion we came to was that the amount of money you're going to be spending to do any of those scenarios is going to be significant, quite significant. And you'll still be disappointed because you will not have satisfied all of the issues that were cited in the statement of needs. The only conclusion we came to that made sense in order to satisfy all your needs and to be most cost effective is a new building. A new building will also not disrupt the existing building. If you can imagine conducting a renovation, which will take years of undoing spaces, repartitioning in a building that's already crowded, trying to continue education while all of that activity is going on will take you longer and will cost you more money. So I think the committee made the right choice in recommending that a new building be the most viable option to address all of the needs.
Devin, could I jump on to something Richard just said that I think is pretty pertinent here? In the presentation that the building committee gave to the town council, a large discussion was centered around the concept of renovate like new and a new building. And what Richard just brought up, the expanded time frame of a renovation and having the students, teachers, and visitors live in and around that while it is going on was a very large factor and a very large discussion point with the council. And that's why we felt very comfortable with that recommendation of a new building.
Thank you. All right, we have a question about, are you aware of any community groups that would like to use the high school facility, but do not because of the current state of it? For example, robotics, orchestra, or theater programs. Perhaps one of our staff that works within the building can answer this, Scott, Kate, or Chris.
Sorry, Deb, I got that. You asked about the scheduling in the new building, or the new, I missed the question. I apologize.
Yeah, I'll repeat it. It's, are you aware of any community groups that would like to use the building but don't because of its current condition?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think in that, when you think about, first of all, we have to send groups in our own high school off campus. So for example, our robotics program is down at the annex in Unionville. The new building would accommodate a space for them to utilize. And then we do get requests from, community organizations. And then at times we, last year, again, pre-COVID, we had a group come in to look at utilizing the auditorium to conduct a performance. And they looked at the spacing and the seating, and it was not conducive for their needs. And I think we've had others as well. So this building is not only services our 9th through 12th graders, but it is a community-wide building. It is outside of the pandemic, the lights are on and this place is active from when it's dark in the morning till it's dark in the evening. And that's folks within our school and within our community through continuing education and a variety of community partners and community groups as well. And we'd love to have this space be utilized for music and arts and performance as well. It just can't happen in our current space, but we're optimistic that with the new building, that our campus and our space will be provide greater utilization for the community as well.
Thanks, Scott.
You're welcome.
Someone asks, the new space should allow for programs such as engineering and architecture, correct? I think this might be a combination of one of our administrators and maybe Richard to speak to the applied arts room.
Sure. So the plan does include applied arts rooms, which allows for theory activity as well as lab activities. So yes, I can absolutely see a program that could very easily be inserted into this facility in their applied arts areas. It could be programs that have CAD, building models. If you're specifically interested in architecture and engineering, we could configure one of those lab spaces into a studio so that you have model making areas as well as CAD and three-dimensional printing components could be inserted. The actual design of that program I leave to the educators, but from a physical standpoint, it could be very easily accommodated in this facility.
The only thing I would add is just the outstanding, and I don't know if Chris would add to this as well, but collaboration is inherent in our culture here, and that's the culture with students and educators. And so, I recall last year when we were sitting down and looking at the ed specs with our architect partners and CSG, and I would imagine in most buildings, everybody wants to carve out their own separate space. And here at Farmington High School, I don't know if you recall this, Richard, we have the applied arts folks coming in with the robotics folks, coming in with our health, and our groups are coming in together and talking about how these spaces can be shared and multi-purposed. And so when you have a building like this and you have a culture like we do in Farmington, where collaboration is at the center, these new spaces really unlock a whole load of potential. Again, where our robotics kids are sharing the space with our applied arts kids, and they're utilizing the tools for multiple purposes. And so our program that we put in place allows for multiple uses in these spaces, and it really enhances what we're able to offer at the high school. So I know others have seen that in the work that we've been doing in the planning. It's really exciting for us to have this opportunity.
I can weigh in if you like, Scott. So a couple of the things in terms of the collaboration space, and to introduce myself, I'm sorry, Chris Maycall, Kate, my colleague, spoke on our behalf, but we have in health and PE, our offices are not accessible for students that can't go into either the boys or the girls locker room. So that's an issue as well. We have a second floor weight room that has ADA compliance by putting an elevator right in the middle of it. We've had to retrofit old shower areas with lockers. So we've been kind of stretched as full as we can in the health PE athletic side of it as well. And to answer the question about groups being forced to practice or hold club meetings off-site, certainly that is an issue. And obviously with more space and more flexibility in that space, we can accommodate more of those extracurricular activities.
Thanks, Chris. All right, I'm just seeing one more question here. How easily can the new building's design be enhanced in the future with population rise, changed needs and desires? Richard?
Yep, I'd be happy to answer that. So we do have in the plan areas that we've indicated, indicating where we would add another classroom cluster, for example. with breakout areas. It would be placed on the northern side of the footprint that is planned, and that would not disrupt any activities within the building. That kind of addition could easily be built. So that's the big view in terms of expanding the facility. But when it comes to the details, we need to make sure that we plan the infrastructure very carefully as well. So in those classroom clusters that you saw that are circled around a breakout space, how you divide the classroom's square footage is very, very important. Where you place the utilities, where you place the ductwork and piping, to make sure that you can very easily change the walls, the partitions between classrooms. You may want to expand a classroom. You may want to subdivide classrooms. So in order to do that, or minimize the impact or minimize the cost, we want to make sure that we place the utilities along the perimeters rather than within those walls that separate classrooms. So those kinds of strategies we would take when it comes to working out the details.
All right, thank you. I did just see one more trickle in, and I think this will be for Richard as well. The new design offers a lot of windows and light, but does it also potentially magnify afternoon sun to heat up sun-facing rooms?
So we're very aware of sun exposure on a building. We work with electrical and mechanical engineers. We do energy modeling of the building, and we want to make sure that the different exposures on the exterior of the building have the right kinds of features. For example, south-facing windows would have louvers placed above them in order to cast shadows and offer some sun screening. As the sun moves across the sky during the course of the day, we want to make sure that we minimize any heat gain on those rooms. And when the sun is lower in the wintertime, you do want to have some heat gain. So you have to create a sweet spot for those kinds of louvers that we would place on the exterior. Also, I will tell you that glazing these days, glass technology is very sophisticated, and we can minimize heat gain simply by adjusting how those glass components are fabricated. We have even employed things like fritted glass, which is a ceramic coating on the glass to reduce heat gain on those exposures that face south. So technology in building trades has tremendously improved. So I can assure you that we will energy model the building and detail it so as to reduce the gains in the summertime and reduce the losses in the wintertime.
Thank you. I see one more in the chat here. I know there are some that are unhappy with the costs associated with this project. However, have any conversations or surveys been conducted to poll the community members to see how many would choose to move their families' kids to a neighboring town if these issues are not corrected and updated? I'm not sure if a question like that was conducted through a poll. I know there was a poll that was conducted after the last referendum. It was completed by the Center for Research and Public Policy. And that report is available on our website in our reports page. And it does have some questions regarding cost and some information regarding the community feedback. I can't remember off the top of my head what the numbers are looking like, but that info is available on our website. Meg, did you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, I'm going to just hop in quick, and then I'm also going to ask CJ to give his thoughts on this one as well. But as I was reviewing this question, which is an interesting question, the answer is, as far as I know, we have never asked that question directly of anybody in the town. So, we've never specifically asked what the next course of action would be if we didn't correct these problems. But to that point, I think the best answer and probably the best representation of this is people's ability to vote at referendum. So if you feel very strongly about the issues and the concerns that we have in the current facility and want us to move forward and provide a better solution for students and for the community, the best way to do that is to go to the polls and represent that thought and represent your opinion on that, because that really is what that is. It's asking your opinion and you having your voice be heard. And really showing how much you really value the education in town and the community asset. So CJ, I don't know if you have anything else you want to add to that.
Well, I would say certainly back in 18 when we did the last survey after the failed referendum, we didn't ask that specific question. But what we did ask that seemed very telling was the percentage of population who understood there was a need at the high school for a major change. And over 85% of the public recognized that there were absolute needs at the high school that had to be addressed. And again, as Meg just said, the real response to this is people who understand there's a need or would actually leave the community. You will have that opportunity to express that when you can get out and vote and tell friends, neighbors, the same thing. If you feel that strongly, make sure you encourage other people to do exactly the same thing. Get out and vote and support this project.
Thank you. I do see another one came in about, will heating and cooling be supported in any way by non-fossil fuels? Richard, do you think you can answer this one?
Sure, I'll try. So we had quite a bit of discussion with the building committee about energy efficient mechanical systems. We do have built into the budget enough money to create some very energy efficient strategies. We even looked at the potential for photovoltaic panels and geothermal on the site, which is very difficult. But I will tell you that as the project proceeds going forward, we'll continue to have these discussions with the committee. We do need to balance initial cost versus long-term benefits, and that's part of our energy modeling strategy in the future. So what I can't assure 100% that we'll achieve zero fossil fuels, but we will continue the design, assuming that the project is passed in referendum, and there's a long way to go before all the details are worked out.
Thank you, Richard. We do have a question about enrollment projections. Maybe Alicia can speak to that a little bit. The question is, can you explain the 10% increase in enrollment with the birth rate going down? Now, I don't know if that is included in the enrollment projection report, but I know a report was conducted.
So I'm not sure I can give details on the connection between the birth rate off the top of my head. What I can tell you is in 2019, we completed a comprehensive enrollment projection report with Peter Prouda, and it was a 10-year enrollment review. And from the years of 2019 to 2029, it does indeed show a 10% increase in our population at FHS. So I can't give specifics about the birth rate. I can tell you, though, that is something that's examined in that report. And that report is, I don't know if it's on the website, Devin, but I think it is. And it goes into detail there. But I would be happy to, have further conversation about enrollment if this person would like to talk further. There's a whole process for how you do projections, and it's not a simple, a simple answer. But certainly, those are things that were considered very closely by the committee when making decisions and recommendations about space and what to put forward.
Thanks, Alicia. And yes, that report is available on our website, and we encourage you to check that out at fhsbuildingproject.org. I think that is the final question that we had. So I think we are able to move on.
All right, thank you, Devin. So we do appreciate everybody's engagement today. We hope that you found this beneficial. Just a reminder, we will be holding these topic Thursday conversations at noon all through the month of April. So please join us. These are recorded as well, so people will have access to view them after the fact. So we do encourage everyone to visit the official sanctioned factual website. You've heard us mention that many times today. There's a lot of information on there that we share. We have here all the information that you have, ways to get information from the building committee or on the slide in front of you, as well as the newsletter that is mailed to every household. So 2 newsletters have been mailed out specifically from the building committee. There will be a 3rd with additional details prior to the referendum. You will also see information about the project in the district newsletters and the town newsletters. So there's lots of opportunities to learn about this project, to find more information. So please, we ask everybody to take that opportunity and learn more, read more. If you have specific questions, there is a lot of detail on the website. So, and if you have a question, in addition, that is you do not have answered during one of our many community presentations, again, you do have the availability to ask a question on the website directly with the contact form. So lots of opportunities to engage and learn and ask questions. So with that, I think that concludes today's presentation. We thank everyone for your time, the presenters and our attendees. And we look forward to continued engagement with everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Meg. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.